time for crying, no time for tears. Got no time for crying, no time for tears. We've got work to do. 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 to remind anyone to look at it from your point of view. Gonna build a bridge right over the mountain. Gotta build it right over the sea. Gonna build a bridge right over the ocean, so you can walk right over to me.
Testing. 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 Can you hear me? Testing. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't need a mic? So I want to say thank you. The name of our group is Kalpulli Yaocenoxtli. Oh, it's on. I was like, someone is echoing my voice. Just want to say thank you to the organizers of this summit. This is a phenomenal group of folks. It's a pleasure to see our youth here as well. Again, the name of our group is Kalpulli Yaocenoxtli. We're a Mexica Aztec dance and drum circle based out of here in the Twin Cities. It's definitely a family-oriented group, as you can see here. We want to make sure that we normalize that in any setting, our youth and our children are always welcome at the table, that they're always welcome in spaces. And so when we're not a performance group, although it looks like we're performing, but this is something that we do as our way of life and to exchange culture with each one of you. So we're gonna finish up with our last dance and then close up for today. This dance is called Mitotiani. It means he or she who dances. So when it gets tough organizing out there or things aren't meeting or what you expect, things aren't happening the way that needs to be, just remember to dance, to move, and don't stay stagnant. Keep moving forward and keep dancing. So thank you, Tlaskamati. This is dedicated to all of you.
incredible way to start a lunch, right? Woo! Thank you to the Makisha dancers with Kalpulli Yaocenoxtli. We were so thrilled. Let's give them another hand. Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Roper-Batker, and I'm the president and CEO of the Women's Foundation of Minnesota.
Thank you. I'm going to have to push you over a little.
Oh.
Sorry.
Can we move this?
No. Don't try to knock it down there, Lee. Well, bienvenidos. Welcome. I'm Saanii Hernandez. I'm the vice president. And I just want to say, I got chills from that, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like I felt it down deep in my soul, and thank you for filling us up as we go through this day. I really appreciate the work that you all are doing. And we want to get started.
And it's only noon. Look what we've already done. Who was here and heard Representative Ilhan Omar this morning? Pretty amazing, right? Sharing her wisdom and strategies for creating culture change.
Absolutely. And we're going to get started, so keep eating. We're going to eat throughout the program because we've got a packed lunch. So I just want to take a protocol moment and welcome some of the elected and appointed officials here with us today. Ramsey County Attorney John Choi, you can give a wave. Thank you. And I don't know if Minneapolis City Attorney Susan Siegel's made it yet. And of course, this morning we had Representative Ilhan Omar with us. So great way to start the day.
Absolutely.
Now, do you guys see these in the middle of your table? So you've been wondering what they are? They're noisemakers. So everyone pick one up. I'll give you a second. We want to see who's all in the room here, right? So we're just going to make some noise. I mean, we've got a lot of energy, so we're going to keep it going throughout the day. So if you're you got them? Give a little shake. If you're a grantee, woo! If you're a grantee partner of ours, make some noise. These are amazing leaders from all across the state. If you're a donor or corporate partner, make some noise. And if you're a young women change maker, and there are so many incredible change maker leaders in this room, make some noise.
We're excited to be here with you today as we celebrate 35 years of innovation and impact. That's right, the Women's Foundation just turned 35 years old. So you know what? Saanii, we're old enough now we could run for president.
And I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah. As a community foundation, it's our mission to invest in innovation across the state. And we do this through partnerships with all of you. You make this work happen. 35 years is a milestone, right?
Absolutely.
We got some balloons. We got some noisemakers. Lee said no cake.
No, I said you don't have to sing happy birthday to us.
No happy birthday.
You're welcome. You know, we're at an incredible time of culture change, aren't we? From the Me Too movement to Black Lives Matter to youth organizing for safe schools and communities, many in this country at this moment are demanding change. And we know that to create a state of gender and racial equity, it requires more from us. It requires a deep awakening of how our personal behavior either reinforces or changes systemic inequities. Inequities that women, people of color, American Indians, LGBTQ, and disability communities face every day. So let's imagine together what this world could look like.
So are you ready to imagine? And we won't make you close your eyes because we know you're eating. But imagine if we moved and changed from a culture of pay gap and job segregation to a culture of equal opportunity, equal pay, and equal wealth. What would that look like?
I'm ready for it. Imagine if we change from a culture where women and girls experience violence and harassment on a daily basis to a world where everyone experiences it as a place of safety and respect.
Yep, I'm for that.
What
I love
happened to
these
that
noisemakers,
energy?
We're keeping at it. So also imagine if we moved from a culture where we don't see women and girls represented in leadership like they should be, to a culture where women and girls lead equally in our families, in our workplaces, in our communities, and in elected office like we saw this morning.
That's right. That's the world we all want to live in, right? All right.
For 35 years, we've been doing this work with each of you in this room, and we continue to invite you to do this work with us. So what are we doing at the foundation? What have we been doing for the last 35 years to move this work forward? Well, we've invested $25 million across the state to ensure equity and outcomes for women and girls. Thank you. I have some noisemakers out there. And just take a look at some of the work that we've done in partnership through our Minnesota Girls Are Not for Sale Fund. Who knows about Men Girls Are Not for Sale, right? Our campaign to end child sex trafficking in our state. Two of our grantee partners put together incredible narrative-changing advertisements, promotions, that PSAs, particularly around the Super Bowl. And guess how many times they've been seen in the last 3 months? 122 million times. Amazing, 22 million times, and that is culture change. That's culture change, right?
And youth developed those ads, didn't you? Woohoo! Shout out! And we're looking forward to what lasting culture change young women leaders are going to create through the Young Women's Initiative of Minnesota, which we are co-leading with the governor.
You'll see a lot of these young women here today.
And they aren't the leaders of tomorrow. They are the leaders right now. Can I tell you a secret? So this weekend, we're hoping for Sunday, the Star Tribune is going to be profiling a couple of the young women leaders who received micro grants from us. Maya and Anissa, are you here? Yeah, woohoo! So we're really excited about that, and we want to appreciate and spotlight all the young women leaders who are committed to making culture change. But don't take my word for it. Let's take a look and see what they're committed to.
People were busy at the selfie station. Who hasn't gotten to do it yet? Now you know you want to go over there and do it after lunch, for sure. You know, when I see what these young women are doing and the leadership and the inspiration that they're bringing, I know that culture change is possible, right? It's not something that we dream of, because we do dream of it, but it's already happening. And it continues to happen, and it continues to transform, and all of us are part of that. And we want to continue to partner with you for the next 35 years and beyond to change culture together. So are you with us?
Woo! All right. Well, now Saanii and I are thrilled to welcome Ted Bunch as our keynote speaker. You know, through Ted's early work with survivors of domestic violence, he told me that he knew that gender-based violence wasn't going to end until we changed culture. And that's why he co-founded A Call to Men, to create a world where all men and boys are loving and respectful, and all women and girls are valued and safe. You have Ted's impressive bio in your program, so I'm not going to read it to you, but it's really been our absolute pleasure, Ted, to get to know you as a colleague and a friend over these past few years, and you truly are changing culture and one of the great change makers of our time. Ready for Ted? Please join us in welcoming him.
What's up, Minnesota? All right. Okay, so I'm really excited to be here. I've been waiting for this. Our partnership with the foundation has been amazing. Lee and Saanii's leadership is not only impacting Minnesota, but it's impacting the country. They're really tremendous leaders and visionaries. Can we just recognize their leadership, folks? Yeah, really. Our work at A Call to Men is around prevention. You know, when we look at what's happening in the news around sexual harassment and the Me Too movement, amazing, so needed, so important. And that's intervention, right? Something has to happen and we respond to it. About 4 years ago, the same thing occurred with domestic violence. You remember what happened, and domestic violence became part of a national conversation in a different way? You remember what happened? It was a video? Right. right? So it was Ray Rice. This time it was allegations against Harvey Weinstein, right? That's intervention. Well, our work is to go upstream to prevention where it never happens in the first place. That makes sense, right, folks? And the Women's Foundation recognizes that an investment in a call to men, in working with men to prevent men's violence and discrimination, to prevent our boys from becoming men who become violent and discriminate, that investment in men and boys is also an investment in women and girls. And we really appreciate that vision because we really believe that men have to be part of the solution. So, let me just see the hands here. Where are the men in the house? Anyone who identifies as male, would you raise your hand, please? Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Some of the partnership that the foundation has supported us in, we had a conference here about last September, tremendous conference around the many faces of manhood. Was anyone at that conference? You remember that? Okay, some hands are up. Great. And they also support, so they gave us support for that national conference, which was groundbreaking, and also gave us support to have we had a wonderful Men of Influence breakfast here a few months ago. We had a wonderful community conversation and organizing event here. So there's a lot that's happening right here in your Twin Cities. And I saw Pang here. Is Pang here? And there's other men doing the work. Can you just raise your hand if you're doing work here? And that includes George, Dr. Jolly. There's lots of men who are doing tremendous work here. So we're a national organization coming here to really support the work that's already being done and to bring you this message of men becoming part of the solution, but also one that hopefully will encourage men. And you can bring this back to the men in your life. And if you go to our website, if there's something you want to take back from this conference, you can go to our website. We have a TED Talk done by the co-founding partner of my organization. He and I co-founded together 15 years ago by Tony Porter. And the TED Talk's about 11 minutes. It's about 5 years old now, but GQ magazine 2 years ago said it was one of the top TED Talks every man should see. So that's something you can bring back and say, I was at a conference today, wanted to share this with you. Okay, so let me play a video that gives you a little bit of a summary of the importance of men being involved in the work and the reason why, and then we'll take it from there. Grant, would you mind?
As men, we have unwritten rules and agreements, unnegotiated deals, and codes of silence that other men come to expect from us. This collectively defines many aspects of our manhood. I remember asking a 12-year-old boy, a football player, so how would you feel if your coach told you in front of all the other players that you're playing like a girl? I thought he would say I'd be mad, I'd be angry, I'd be sad. But no, the boy told me it would destroy me. I said, wow. If it would destroy him being told that he's playing like a girl, what are we as men teaching him about girls? If we continue to treat women and girls as if they are of less value, the property of men and sexual objects, we continue to maintain a culture that reinforces discrimination and abuse towards them.
It is important to rethink and reshape how we as men have been taught to act and behave. We need to hold on to the many wonderful aspects of manhood and remove those things that hold us back.
We need to stop laughing and begin challenging inappropriate comments made about women and girls. We need to educate ourselves, our sons, and other young men and boys.
Our liberation as men is directly tied to the liberation of women.
Let's be the solution.
A Call to Men works with men and women to create a world where all men and all boys are loving and respectful, and all women and girls are valued and safe.
Help us create a new world by being part of the next generation of manhood.
Thank you. Thank you. So, before I get started, I really want to emphasize that I'm going to be talking a lot about manhood and the collective socialization of men and how we pass that teaching down to our boys. Before I do that, though, I really want to make clear that this is not an indictment on manhood. It's actually an invitation to men. Okay? Can you repeat after me? This is not an indictment on manhood. It's an invitation to men. That's right. It's an invitation to men. So when we look at all of the abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault, discrimination, harassment that happens in the United States, in our country, I'm not sure what the statistics are, but it's a smaller group of men. If we look at domestic violence and sexual assault, it's probably somewhere around, out of 100% of the men, it's probably around 15, 20% maybe of the men who do these things. 80% of us, 85% of us don't. So the overwhelming majority of violence against women and girls is men's violence, that's a fact. But what's also true is that the overwhelming majority of men are not violent, but we're silent about the violence other men perpetrate, and that's as much of the problem as the violence is. That's what keeps it going. That's what keeps it going. We just need to say to our buddy, that sexist joke at the water cooler, I guess it would be at the Keurig today, that sexist joke at the Keurig we're not going to laugh at, right? It's really about redefining manhood. So one of the things that when we're talking to men, we have to connect men to their hearts, right? Part of the way we're raised as from boys to men is that we're disconnected from our hearts, from those emotions, right? Because when those emotions have come up, we've been told as little boys to do what with those? To stuff them. And we say things like what to our little boys about crying? Don't cry, man up, suck it up, big boys don't cry, all of those kinds of things, right? So we want to connect men to their hearts. So we believe that most men are good men, wanting to do the right thing. And to connect them to their hearts, we have to connect them to people who they care about in their lives. So I want to share a story with you because it's important that men see how living in this world, how women and girls living in this world that we have, that in this country, that safety is really an issue. Do I have anyone who has daughters here? Great, 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 great. All right. Anyone who have daughters under 10 years old? Under 10? How old's your daughter, sir? 5. What's her name? Rosella. Oh, thanks, Jerome. 5 years old. Okay. So this is why it's important for us, folks. I have a daughter also. And my daughter's much older than your daughter at this point. She's 27 now. Now, Maya went away to college. We live on Long Island, and she went away to the University of Virginia. It's about a 6-hour drive, right? If your daughter needed you, God forbid, and you're 6 hours away, it's going to take you 6 hours to get there. Would that be a long 6 hours for you? Longest 6 hours of your life, right? I don't even like presenting it to you. It gets me a little upset just to say it hypothetically, right? But Maya's away from me, 6 hours away from me. If she needed me, it's going to take me that long to get there. She's not at the mall. She's not at a friend's house. If she needs something, if there's a problem, it's going to take me a while to get there. So Maya was in her last year at college and wanted to live off campus with 2 other young women who were also at the University of Virginia. So we went down and looked at an apartment. She was tired of the dorm life. We chose a place, her mom and I, and then I'm driving back to New York, and Maya calls me and asks me, Dad, when you bring these things down, and she gave me a list, would you bring a pair of your old shoes or boots? Why would she want a pair of my old shoes or boots, folks? To put them outside the door. Why does Maya need to put shoes outside the door? Speak up a little bit more. To make it look like a man lives there. Why does Maya need to make it look like a man lives there? For protection, to feel safe, to feel less at risk. Do you think I got her the boots? Listen, I wear a size 11. I want to buy 16, dip them in mud, put bloodstains on the toe. Hey, man, Jerome, they can't be big enough. They can't be big enough. Now, Maya's never been a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, but she knew it's not safe for her. She knew that it's not safe for her. And wouldn't it be great when your daughter goes away to school or leaves home where we don't have to put shoes outside of her door? Wouldn't that be a good thing? How do we get there? That's where we need to be. And that's going to take that bridge from intervention to prevention. That bridge is men. We can't get around it. The bridge is men. The Me Too movement's really exciting because men have to look, we have to look at ourselves now. We have to. We have to look at how we move through the world. We have to look at how we impact people. women in particular, it's really important. This is a significant time, as Lee said. It's a very important time. I do sexual harassment trainings. I was just with the NBA league office. I was sharing with someone earlier. We do work with all professional sports teams as well, but the league office doing a sexual harassment training. And I was saying to them that there isn't a man that exists who hasn't either done something that has crossed the line or witnessed another man doing something that has crossed the line and did nothing about it, including myself. I remember sexist jokes at the water cooler that I didn't say anything about or that I laughed at. I remember that. Years ago, I wouldn't do that now, but I remember that. I remember being in a group of men in a workplace, and a woman say something, she says, made a very good point, and she leave the room, and one man lean over to the other and say, oh, must be that time of the month. I remember that. Now, that's not sexual harassment, but it's devaluing women. It's a hostile work environment. We do these things all the time as men. The things we teach each other, the socialization that we pass down is all there. You saw in the video, less value, property, and objectification is something that we're all taught. It's the way we pass down manhood to our boys. So much so that if I have three 17-year-old boys here at the Mall of America, can I just say, I come out of the hotel yesterday, I want to go for a walk, and I say, oh, look, there's a mall over there. I go over there and say, wow, this is a big mall. And now I know why it's called Mall of America. It's the biggest mall. I was like, wow, this is a big mall. So, and I wound up shopping too much. But anyway, that's another story. 3 17-year-old boys hanging out at the Mall of America, good kids. And here comes a young woman about the same age and walks by them. Do you think the 17-year-old boys in the Twin City area might say something to her as she walks by? What do you think? Yes? Yeah, I think so too. And let's say 2 of the 3 said something, and they turn around and they see that the 3rd boy didn't say anything. I'm going to ask the men in the room, what do you think that those 2 boys might say to that one boy who didn't say anything? Just shout it out, guys. Something, what's wrong with you? Right? Are you gay? They're questioning. So what that tells us is that these are good boys now, and they've learned, though, that they're saying to that one boy, the one who's respecting her, they're saying to him, you're falling short on the manhood that we're supposed to live up to. So I'm going to say things to you that push you back into this man box. We're going to punish you for it, really, right? And that man box, you'll hear more about the man box a little bit later. That man box, the glue that keeps that man box together is homophobia. It's really like a duct tape because it's bondage for everybody, right? That's how this construct works. So is there any man here with a daughter in her teens? Okay, what is your last name, sir? Yes. Ryage? Okay, close enough? All right, so here's these 3 boys again. Here comes another young woman. She starts walking toward them, and they get ready to say something to her, but one of them says, oh, wait a minute, that's Mr. Riot's daughter, or Mr. Bunch's daughter, or their big brother's friend's younger sister. Do they say the same thing to her? What do you think? Why not? There's an accountability. So if she's connected to a man, she has value and respect. If she's not, say what you want to say. Who's going to do anything about it? Well, that's where we have to come in. Men have to be there. Because that's why Maya needs shoes outside of her door. They don't know me in Charlottesville. In our community in Rockville Center, she can get an apartment a mile away, and men aren't going to say those things to her. They might say, you look very nice. But they're not going to say what those boys would say. And do you know what some of the language is that those boys would use? Just watch Netflix or the music they're listening to. You can hear it. Anyone know what that might be? Well, I'll tell you what our generation would have said. Good guys now, the 85%, not the 15%, we would have said something like this when she walks by. I want to hit that. I'd like to hit that. Hit, violence, that object. The 2018 spin on hit that is smash it, crush it, beat it up, kill it. That's the language. They're just doing what we've passed down for them to do. So I take responsibility. When we're in high schools and colleges, I actually take responsibility for those things that those boys believe and know and say. Okay, so let me play one more video. This is the No More PSA. So you may have seen this if you follow football at all. It was done right after Ray Rice, actually. About 4 or 5 years ago, the NFL was making a statement with some players and really addressing the issue of no more excusing the behavior of men and boys. So let's give that a shot.
No more boys will be boys.
No more, what's the big deal?
No more, it's just the way he is.
No more, he just has a temper.
No more, but he's such a nice guy.
No more, but he has such a bright future.
No more, not my problem.
No more. I'll say something next time.
No more. Why didn't she tell anyone?
No more, why doesn't she just leave? No more, I'm sure they'll work it out.
No more. She seems fine to me.
No more, what was she wearing?
No more, she was drunk.
No more, he was drunk.
No more, she was asking for it.
No more, she never said no.
No more, not in this family.
No more, not on this team.
No more, we don't talk about that.
No more bystanding.
No more ignorance.
No more excuses.
No more.
No more excuses, no more. This is really important. No more excuses, no more. Because right now, what we do, I want to go back one, whoops. Okay. Right now, we do blame women for the violence and discrimination that men perpetrate. We'll blame a woman who was sexually assaulted for what she had on. Remember that the sexual harassment training I was telling you about earlier this week? I had a man say to me, I'm not going to be doing any closed-door meetings with women because something might be misinterpreted, right? So again, that's blaming women, isn't it? So my response was, well, it's really not women who's been inappropriate. It's men who've been inappropriate. She really, statistically, should be more concerned about closing the door with you in there. I mean, that's really it. I mean, right? But if you're going to if that's your new policy in this post-Me Too era, then you can't have closed-door meetings with men either. If you have individual lunches with people and you're uncomfortable doing that with a woman, then you don't need to do that with a man either, because that's discrimination, right? And he happened to be a white man, and I said, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a supervisor. I have black employees and white employees. Every white employee who I have my individual meetings with, the door's open. Every black employee, I come in, I say, close the door. What are you thinking? What are they talking about? Why aren't I getting closed-door meetings? What are they talking about me, right? So we have to really be careful of how, we have to really look differently at who we are, because we're all looking in that rearview mirror. I looked in the rearview mirror too. After, in October, right after all this came out, I was doing an article for Huffington Post, and I was getting ready to hit sendly on sexual harassment. And I'm like, is anybody gonna say something that I might have done or said? I mean, that was real. That was a real thought. Gotta hit send. We'll see. Right? Because how we are in the space of work, who I was 15 years ago is a much different person than who I am now, what I know now. Right? Men at work thinking that you say, hey, you look great in that dress, is a compliment where she feels uncomfortable with that. So saying things like that before October sound different now, don't they? Right? It's very different. So we have to really make these changes, and it's really important. Because remember I said before that men may have crossed the line or known somebody else crossed the line? Even for us to say that there's a line, for us to say where the line is, speaks to privilege and entitlement, doesn't it? Because the line for us is usually a physical line, where for her it may have been way over here when there was something inappropriate said, and we thought we were just complimenting her. Okay, so our mission, as Lee said, is to create a world where all men and boys are loving and respectful, and all women and girls are valued and safe. And we believe that as we increase and promote a healthy, respectful, and loving manhood, we automatically decrease and prevent domestic violence, sexual assault, bullying, homophobia. It all goes away. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. But we have the words all there specifically for a purpose, because we need to say all so that we know we're talking about all. because all means the margins of the margins. See, if we don't have the word all there, and we just say end violence against women, we're going to go to the center, right? We're going to go to the center. So that's going to be middle class, that's going to be white, that's going to be heterosexual, that's going to be able-bodied, Christian. That's where the center is in this country, right? So we want to say all to be intentional, because if we're really going to end violence against all women, then we have to be willing to work with the men and boys that they love. Hmong women are primarily going to be with Hmong men. Black women are primarily going to be with black men. White women are primarily going to be with white men. So we have to be able to do that. So the support of the foundation and others provide us with an opportunity. This is in the last year. We do a lot with government, including military, all the professional sports leagues, kind of from the boardroom to the barbershop. We have lots of men's initiatives. The foundation supported a great conference, as I said, we had here in September. College students, high school students, professional athletes. Men and women are always in the room together. We encourage that. We want women in the room with us. We have men-only events when they request it, but we always want the voice of women in the room. The voice of women is important. Actually, our board just started to allow men on the board about 5 years ago. We're 15 years old. We had an all-women board because we really believe that we have to have systems of accountability to women. I learned that early on. I ran the largest batterers program in the United States before I started A Call to Men for an organization called Safe Horizon. It was then Victim Services in New York City. 600 men a week, all court mandated. 30 classes, 20 in English, 10 in Spanish. And I had an advisory group of women advocates and survivors. It was suggested that I do that, and I took the suggestion, and I'm glad I did, because I didn't really think I needed the voice there. I thought I knew what I was doing. So these classes would meet once a week, and this was the lesson I learned. I wanted to give homework assignments. So let's say there was a Monday night class. He'd come to class, but then I'd also give him homework to do between Monday and the next Monday when he comes, so he'd learn even more. That makes sense to me, right? And I brought this to my advisory board, and I was really sold on this idea. And they said, please don't do that, because what's going to happen is he'll have his homework for you Monday night, but Sunday night, she's going to get it. See, Sunday night, he's going to tell her that I'm only in this program because of you. You do the homework. He's going to use it as one of the many things that he wants to use it to abuse her. Does that make sense? Right? I would have never known that. I'd have given him 3 nights of homework a week probably. So if I didn't have that voice that said, well, this is how it's going to impact women with the best of intentions as a man, I would have been doing more harm than good. So it's really essential as we do this work as men that we have the voice of women there. These are some of our social media. You can go on Facebook, you can like us on Facebook. We're always putting these things up all around social media campaigns. We've been in front of about 1 million people over the last 15 years, physically in front of about 1 million. And we have this Live Respect curriculum. It's written with Scholastic. It's all over the country. And what's interesting about this curriculum in particular is that it addresses dating violence, bullying, sexual assault, homophobia in schools and sports. But I want to get to this statistic. We interviewed high school boys. We asked them all around the country, all different demographics, and we asked them, do you know what consent is? 19% knew what consent was. 81% of our boys, yours and mine, didn't know what consent was. That didn't surprise us, actually, because that explains sexual assault on college campuses. That explains sexual assault in the military. That explains why girls and women between 16 and 24 are at the highest risk of being sexually assaulted, because our boys think no means try harder, because that's what we tell them. That's what they're getting through the socialization. That's what we're telling them as men. If I have an 18-year-old boy in your high school going out, good kid now, he's going out tonight to take a high school senior young woman out to a movie. He lets his buddies know. They go to the movie. He gets back home. It's about 12 o'clock. He's on Snapchat or Instagram or however they're communicating, and he lets his buddies know, hey, I'm back from the movie. Are they asking him how was the movie? These are our good boys. They're not asking him how was the movie. They're asking him, what'd you get? And if he says, I didn't try to get anything. I want to develop a friendship with her first. They got words for him for that. What's wrong with you? You follow me? It gets passed down and passed down and passed down. So this is an important point because we assume our boys are going to do the right thing. And we've never had to worry about it unless it's our daughters. Then we're worried about it. How many times have a father been told, with his little daughter has been told by other men, oh, you better watch out, you got your shotgun ready? Have you all ever heard that? That's not about the little girl. That's about the boy. That's about, we don't trust the boys we're raising. That's what that's about. We don't trust the boys we're raising. So we have to have conversations with our boys. Moms can have them, but it lands different with dad. So we have to have the conversation because we don't have the conversation. The conversation most dads have is make sure you protect yourself. If I had a group of Minnesota men who are fathers in this room and I asked them, when should your daughters have sex, what do you think they'd say to me? Absolutely. Actually, it doesn't matter if it's Minnesota or anywhere else. Never. If I ask those same dads, when should your boys have sex, what do you think they'd say? Yeah, it gets quiet or it's, well, as soon as possible. Well, let's see, if he's going away to college a virgin, I might, what's going on with my son? We can't have it both ways. So we don't have the conversation with our sons because we haven't had to. Our privilege and entitlement has allowed us, we don't have to worry about what happens to women and girls except the women and girls in our life. And that's where we have to expand this, where we want it to be safe for all women and girls. And it's not about saving women, by the way. Women don't need to be rescued or saved. And the women in the congregation said, thank you. Right? Men need to stop being violent, and safety takes care of itself. It just works itself out somehow. So it's about us. It's about us. That was very good, amen, by the way. That was pretty good. Usually when I'm up north of the Mason-Dixon line, it's a little slower. And I got to go to my black folks like, where y'all at? Supposed to say amen. But you all got it. You all got it. Okay. All right. So, this thing called manhood, right? This thing called manhood. There's so many messages we give to teach our boys not to value women and girls. Example, I know this happens in Minnesota, it happens in New York. 6-year-old boy, beautiful kid, spending time with his dad, his uncle, a coach, good men in his community. And this good guy, part of the 85% now, is teaching him how to throw that baseball, and he says, son, you have to throw hard on that. You throw like a, how do you know the answer to that? Now, it doesn't mean you believe it. I don't believe it. Let's say girls throw just fine. Come on, girls throw just fine. Yeah. You don't believe it, but you know the answer. So you've been taught that that's the answer. You know it. Now, what does that 6-year-old boy leave that interaction with that man, big brother, uncle, coach he's looking up to? Does he leave that interaction thinking girls are equal to him or less than him? How can he not? And we're doing things like this all the time, not to be bad people. It's just the socialization. We pass it down from this generation, and we go down to that generation, and we don't give it any thought. Another example is this. I remember very clearly we have 5 children. The oldest boy is 20. He's at NYU right now. He's an athlete and a student at NYU. When Joshua was 10, he's the oldest boy. I say that because we had this little ritual. I was doing this work, anti-sexism work, and I would go out on a business trip, getting on a flight. And I'd say goodbye to his mom and all the other kids, and he'd walk me out to the car, rolling my computer bag, very proud moment. This is a great moment between father and son, right? And I leaned down to Josh like I did 100 times before, and I said, okay, son, now, you're the man of the house. Take care of things around here. You got it, Josh? I got it, Dad. Excuse my language? He ain't got shit. The boy just got out of pull-ups like a year earlier. I mean, he was peeing in the bed till he was like 9.5, for real. I was like, when is this boy gonna stop? You can't drink before bed, Josh. Can you remember that? Now, that's a great dad moment. Dads look forward to those moments Because what I'm teaching my son is a great lesson. I'm teaching him responsibility, thank you. I'm teaching him leadership. I'm teaching him to be a protector. These are great lessons, but I'm doing it at the expense of his mother, and it never occurred to me until that day. I'm doing it at the expense of his mother. It's not an indictment on my parenting, it's just what we do. Because you got it, son? Because she don't. You're the man in the house? Because she needs one. Now she's running stuff whether I'm there or not. Right? And the women in the congregation said? That was a loud amen. That was loud, Doc. Right? So in the same way that we're teaching that boy to throw harder, but at the expense of girls. One of the ways we define ourselves as men is by distancing ourselves from the experiences of women and girls. It's part of the way we do it. Not bad people, it's just what we've learned. So if I ask you about manhood, tell me about it. Tell me, shout out some of the things about being a man. Just shout them out. Strong, tough, provider, protector. I'm sorry, what'd you say? Unorganized. I'm pretty organized. You look pretty organized too, Doc. Thank you. All right. Right. All of those things, right? The man box. The man box. I mean, honestly, one of the ways that one of the successes about A Call to Men, right, is that we often look, some of our trainers, especially early on, kind of look like we stepped out of the man box, right? So it worked in our favor with men, right? So boys to men. So we teach our boys things like no fear, no pain, don't show weakness, to man up, all the things you said before. Be tough, be strong, be aggressive. Now aggression has its place, right? You want the Timberwolves to be aggressive in the playoffs, right? Right? You gotta be aggressive. If they're gonna try to be anywhere as good as the Lynx, hello. If they're gonna be anywhere as good as the Lynx, they have to be more aggressive. So aggression has its place. It's a good thing in certain things, right? Sports, competition, anything you're doing competing-wise, you have to be aggressive, but not in our personal lives. Be in charge. No emotion except what emotion are men allowed to express? Right, but you know, is anger a primary emotion or a secondary emotion? It's secondary, really, yeah, because we're really feeling hurt, pain, and sadness. But see, when we were feeling that at that little boy, we were always told to shut it down. Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. So we never really got to learn how to process, how to talk about our emotions, right? So, Jay, my man, Jay's like, oh, jeez. This is painless, Jay. You all right? Yeah. All right. Jay and I are friends. I'm coming to Jay to talk to him about what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday, you hurt my feelings, you made me sad. What would you do with that? Apologize. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. I accept your apology. Give it up for Jay. All right, so, have you ever heard a man say that to another man in front of anyone? No. But see, that's exactly what I'm feeling, but I can't say that because remember that little boy who says he's afraid and hurt and all that, and you're told to suck it up? See, if I say that, I'm going to be ridiculed. So, but what I can do is say I'm pissed. I'm pissed. That covers everything. Jay, you understand that a little bit. That translates it for us, right? Oh, okay, I understand pissed, yeah, right? Right. I'm not supposed to be hurt and sad, but that's exactly what I'm feeling is hurt and sad, right? Do you know that men live about 6 years less than women? Stress. That stress, that emotional stress that we keep burying and burying and burying. Jay, you don't have to go outside and start crying, but there's a connection. That's all I'm saying. That emotional stress we keep burying and burying and burying actually builds up to a physical manifestation of stress and illness. So these rigid notions of manhood are killing men as well. In the video, at the end, we say the liberation of men is directly tied to liberation of women, and this is what we're talking about. And anyone who does not conform to gender expectations. Okay, So, back to the book. All right, so no, act like a man, no feelings except anger, of course. Be athletic, be courageous. Now, some of these things are good, dominating, right? Because you're not only supposed to play the game, you're supposed to win, right? Other than the Lynx, has any other Minnesota team won in a while championships? Right. See what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Got to dominate. So, okay. I better keep it moving. Okay. Be a protector. Like, these are great things. Some of these things are great. Being a protector is a great thing. Being a provider is a great thing. We're not saying throw that out, but we're much more than that. You know, if I think about through my marriage, let's talk about being a protector, for instance. In our house at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we've been in this house for over 20 years, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if we hear something downstairs, I can't lean over to my wife and say, go check it out, honey. Like, she's looking for me for that, right? Now, I have a friend of mine, just to be clear, whose wife was a mixed martial arts champion in her weight class in his house, because she can beat his behind and mine. In their house, he'd be like, go have some fun, honey, let me know when we call somebody, you know? But in our house, I'm the protector of the home in that way. Now, I've never had to do anything. We've never had that. I had never had to respond to anything at 2 o'clock in the morning, thank goodness. So we don't even know if I can do it, Jay. We don't even know if I can do it, right? Now, Desiree she was a protector of our finances. She had a vision. When we started dating, this is what we need to do. Once we're married, we need to save this amount. We need to move from an apartment at this point, from this apartment to the house in this amount of time. We need to put this money away for investment. We need to buy a house here. We need to put this away for the kids. All this, she had a vision. She was a planner. Let me say, Joshua, the 20-year-old, Desiree wanted to be, talk about a planner. She wanted to be off for the summers. So she said, if I'm going to be off for the summers, I need to get pregnant here. Ask me when Joshua's birthday is, somebody. June 21st. First day of summer. I mean, she's a planner. That's pretty good. Isn't that pretty good? So anyway, I got off course a little bit. So anyway, being a protector. So she's protecting our finances. Our mortgages are always paid. My credit score is good. Her credit score is good. She protects it on a daily basis. So she made more money than I did. Yes? Thank you, Jesus. Right? So her protection was much more valuable to the family than mine. Much more in this area. Right? So it's much more value to the family than mine. But because a man does it, it's seen as here, and the guys would say, oh, yeah, it's a good wife, she pays the bill, that's what a good wife should do, it's good. Right? But when men do it, it elevates. It becomes elevated, and when women do it, it does not. So being a protector is a good thing, but women protect too, that's what I'm saying. Don't be soft or weak. Make your own decisions, right? Because we're not supposed to need help. Don't be gay. Gay men are men. But this is the construct is a heterosexual man box. Homophobia is the glue that keeps it together, right? Don't act like a woman. Women are the property of men. If I'm in Minnesota and I see a man hitting his wife today, and I walk over to him and say, knock it off, what does he say to me, folks? Mind your business. Actually, do you know how many women are killed every day in the United States from domestic violence? 3. 3 a day. We lose more women to domestic violence every day than we lose soldiers in the wars that we're in. We don't lose 3 soldiers a day who are in combat. Out of those 3 women, 75% of them are killed once she decides to leave or has left. So let's take the last 4 days. That's 12 women. 9 of them said, I'm leaving, or he came home and saw she was gone. He went and found her and killed her. You know, we always want them to leave, right? But that doesn't mean it's the safest thing for her to do. So 3 out of 4 are killed for saying once she decides to leave. So what does that tell us about his belief system, folks? If I can't have her, ownership, property, right? Has domestic violence been seen as a private issue or a public issue, historically? Who does that serve, men or women? Right. It doesn't serve anyone, but men benefit from it, right? Patriarchy and sexism, that's what we're talking about. Okay. The man box. Okay, so don't be soft, or don't be a bee is what you might hear also. Don't be too vulnerable. Always be in control. Don't ask for help. I'm going to ask the men in the room. All right, women, I know you know the answers. I'm just going to ask the men in the room. If there's a man in front of me and I could see his life falling down around him, I could see it coming down, and I ask him, how you doing? What's he going to say to me, guys? Good, I'm good. Not supposed to ask for help. I experienced this about 2 weeks ago. I pulled my back, the sciatic nerve. Anybody ever have an issue with their sciatic nerve? Oh my gosh. It took me an hour. I'm in a hotel. I was in New Jersey. I was with the Jets, actually. I was in a hotel, and I threw out my back, and I'm on the floor. It took me an hour to put my clothes on to call somebody, because I'm like, they are not coming in here, and I don't have clothes on. I'll tell you that right now. It took me an hour, and it's excruciating pain. Then, now I know all this stuff, and I'm laying on the floor, had the hotel's phone in my hand. It took me a half hour, Jay, to call. I didn't want anybody to see me as weak. I didn't want anyone to see me in pain. I didn't want to ask for help. Even knowing what I know, it was still so hard for me. I had to get the courage up to call because I was like, I don't want them to see me wheeling me out on this gurney. You know, we fixed my tie, couldn't even do that. I mean, this thing is for real. So, asking for help, something I'm continuing to. As I get older, it's getting a little easier. As I get older, it's getting a little easier. If we were going to move 15 years ago, 10 years ago, give me all the boxes, put them on my back, I could take another one, you know? Now it's like, go on, young blood, take it away, you know? All right, don't be soft. Don't be too nice because kindness can be seen as, that's right. Don't be too committed. So if all right, there's 4 guys going out. One guy says, no, I'm going to go home with my wife and my girlfriend. What are the other 3 guys saying? Yeah, you're whipped, man. You're not supposed to be too committed. That's too committed. He's the happiest out of all of them. But don't be too loving. Don't be too caring. Okay, you get the idea, right? So, the man box. I'm just going to do a summary here. These are all the things we already talked about. I want to go here. So these are the things that distancing that we do, there's a distancing that happens. We want to close that distance because we define ourselves as men by distancing ourselves from the experiences of women. I have to run through this, so I want to give a quick story. I do need to ask the video to be paused, though, because I have to tell a personal story, and can I pause that for a moment, sir? The video? It's about my son, and